and thank you for joining us on the Person to Person Network. Welcome to Profiles in STEM. Our career series will feature an amazing STEM professional who is shaping lives and building the future. I'm your host, Katie Colbert, and if you haven't already done so, please leave a like and subscribe to our network. Joining me today, we have a very special guest, Dr. Hal Abelson. Dr. Abelson is a professor of computer science and engineering in the Electrical Engineering and Computer Science Department at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He has received many awards for teaching computer science, including the Bose Award, the Taylor L. Booth Education Award, the ACM Special Interest Group on Computer Science Education Award for Outstanding Contribution to Computer Science Education, and the ACM Carl Karlstrom Outstanding Educator Award. Professor Abelson has played a key role in fostering MIT technology initiatives such as MIT OpenCourseware and DSpace. He has also served as co-chair of the MIT Council on Educational Technology. As a leader in his field, Dr. Abelson is a founding director of Creative Commons, Public Knowledge, and the Free Software Foundation. He's also a co-author of the 2008 book, Blown to Bits. Dr. Abelson, welcome to our program.
Yeah. Hi, Katie. And hi, everybody. Hi, everybody who's listening. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to our talk.
It's a pleasure to have you, Dr. Abelson. So let's go back in time. Can you pinpoint a specific moment that first inspired you to pursue a career in STEM?
Gosh, I think I was always interested, and my uncle was a chemist, so I was sort of got this idea that boy, being a scientist was a big important thing, and I liked that very much. So I've always wanted to do something like that. I think when I was little, I wanted to be a physicist, mostly because I didn't know what it was and I couldn't spell it. But I've always been interested in science and things that you can do with science.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And it's great that you were inspired by your uncle. So, Dr. Abelson, I see that you have your BS in math from Princeton and your PhD in math from MIT. How did you end up in computer sciences, and what was the inspirational turning point for you to make this shift?
Well, when I first went to undergraduate school as a freshman, Princeton had a very strong math department, so it was very natural that the students got very interested in math, and I did that all the way through graduate, all the way until I applied to graduate school. I applied to graduate school to MIT in math because that's what I was doing, and then eventually stayed there and was an instructor in math and taught math courses, and got my PhD. At that time, there sort of wasn't any computer science. We're talking about a really long time ago. We're talking about the 1960s, the late 1960s. And I think what I did is I started out, after I got my PhD, I started out teaching in the math department, teaching calculus and things like that. And then it kind of became a little bit more interesting to think about computing, which was starting. At that, I've always been interested not only in computing, but in computing education. So one of the areas that got started really had to do with computing education. And what was interesting is I had tremendous luck when I first arrived at MIT, again, as a graduate student in mathematics. I ran into a math professor there named Seymour Papert. So he again was in the math department, but what he had done is he had invented a computer language called Logo. And Logo was really, again, we're talking here 1969, 1970, long ago. And this was almost the first idea where people said it would be interesting and valuable for kids to learn how to program. That almost didn't exist before, hard as it is to imagine, but there simply wasn't this idea that computers could be things for kids. MIT, of course, had large research computers that cost millions of dollars, and computers in those days were mostly for large industry and the government. And Papert had the foresight to really think about doing this for kids.
Yeah.
What happened when I first arrived at MIT as a graduate student, the 60s were times when there were a lot of student protests. And at MIT, there is an organization called Students for a Democratic Society, SDS. And what they did is they took over the president's office and they held open house in the office of the president of MIT. And they did things like playing back the cartridges on the typewriters so they could see what the president was doing. And I showed up, and I'd been at MIT for maybe a week as a graduate student. And I said, gosh, I am never, as a graduate student, ever going to have a chance to see the president's office at MIT. So I thought I'd go into the office, and there were a bunch of students kind of sitting around on the floor, sort of talking and looking at stuff. And I ran into a friend who'd gone to MIT as an undergraduate that I knew from high school.
Oh.
And I ran into him and I said, hi. I said, hi, Ronnie, I'm new here. I'm just a new graduate student. What's interesting to do? And he said, well, there's this place called the Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, and they're doing kind of interesting things. And I said, oh yeah, well, maybe I'll go over there. And so I went over to the MIT Artificial Intelligence Laboratory and sort of walked in and took the elevator up to, it was on the 9th floor, and the door opens and there is Professor Papert. And I sort of had recognized him from a lecture he'd given. And I said, hi, I'm a new graduate student. He said, oh, that's really good. You want to come be at MIT? What would you like to do? And I said, well, can I work for you? And he said, okay, you can work for me. And that's how I started. Very, very randomly. And one of the things I hope that listeners understand is that you don't have to chart your life when you're in high school or even when you're in college. There are any number of random, wonderful things that happen that you can take advantage of. And the trick is to be prepared. So in my case, I didn't even get into computing very much until I was an undergraduate. I'd done a little bit of work in high school, but in terms of the stuff I'm doing now, and certainly the computing education I did now, I didn't do that until after I'd been to MIT as a graduate student. So just be on the lookout for new opportunities. Don't get too locked into things. When I'll say the same advice to people your age that I gave to my daughter when she was your age. And she said, what should I do and become? I said, well, hopefully you'll do something that doesn't even exist yet. Mm-hmm. So I want to say the same thing to everybody there. This world is so interesting and it's moving so fast that don't assume you have to set your path right now. You could easily be doing things that simply don't exist yet. And certainly that's true in what's going on today in artificial intelligence.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Abelson. I think that's really great advice, especially to like a high schooler who's not really sure what they want to do in their future. And I think it's really cool that you got into your career through like a bunch of like coincidences almost. Like if you hadn't worked for Dr. Papert, who knows if you would have ended up here. And I think it's also cool that you've lived through like this whole growth of technology. So, Dr. Abelson, I know you juggle many responsibilities. So is it possible for you to give us like what a snapshot of a typical day is like for you?
Oh, a typical day? Well, today, a typical day is I don't go to MIT every day because we're all thinking about COVID and things. But on a more typical day, it's a mixture of teaching. So there's a lot of teaching that I do, a couple of hours of lecture. There's a lot of work on my research project, which is MIT Logo. And there are a lot of, one of the things that happens at MIT is it's very common for students to be members of research projects. MIT has a very special program called Undergraduate Research Opportunities. Mm-hmm. So it's very common that in my project, we have 5 or 6 undergraduates who are just coming around. They're in the offices there, they do work. So I spend a lot of time talking with them. And then there's general kind of project kinds of things that are being parts of committees. I spend a lot of time on MIT committees, unfortunately too much. That's the most boring part. But it's the good part is the teaching, and the good part is working with individual students. And that's pretty much what a day is like.
Thank you for sharing that with us. It sounds like you have a lot of responsibilities to juggle, but I can see that you're super passionate about teaching and helping students. So speaking about helping students, you have been involved in many tech initiatives, specifically providing access and empowering children. So why is this so important for you, and which initiative are you most proud of?
Well, I'm not sure why it's so important for me. It just seems like a wonderful thing that the what you need to realize has happened is that the uh, the computer infrastructure, the information infrastructure, has gotten so powerful that there are tools that even young people can do very worthwhile and very important things. That's that wasn't really true, say 10 years ago. If you said, can I be doing, let's say with AI, can I be doing a real interesting project with AI that not only is fun for me, but can make life better for my family or my community or maybe even my country. And that sounds like an outrageous thing to say, but everybody should realize that this is true today. And it's true because if you look at mobile devices, uh, I guess you all know we're at the 20th anniversary of the moon landing. If you have any kind of mobile phone, you have more computing power in that mobile phone than all of NASA had in running the moon landing. It's just incredible. The opportunities you have are just overwhelming. And the other thing that happens is there's a lot of structures on the web right now that if I said to you, why don't you put up a program and a little database that anyone in your country can access or anyone in the world can access, you can do that. There are things like Google Maps and things that are really up on the internet that everybody can use. That was not possible 5 years ago. And so the thing that young people can do is understand that the projects that they do now, that they may think of as cute little games to play or cute little things for themselves, they have the opportunity to do something that makes sense at a country level. Right, so I'll give you one example. You've probably heard of the Eastern European country called Moldova, which right now is having problems with Russia. But another problem in Moldova is that there's a lot of hepatitis A. And in the area, because there's just a lot of polluted water. And in the area of Moldova where the pollution is really bad, there was a project of, I think, 6 high school girls. And what they did is they made an app where when you find a source of water, you go to it, you take a picture of it with your mobile phone. You fill out a little questionnaire that says, is this water good to drink or not? Or maybe you add a little comments like the bucket at this well is broken or something. So that's something that pretty much anybody can do. But then what they did is they took that and they used Google Maps and created a geographic database. So so if you're in Moldova, you click on the map and you see a description of a water source and what it's like. Right? That is a national resource that these 6 high school girls did. And the reason they could do it is, first of all, their imagination. They recognize the opportunity. But secondly, that they have, a mobile phone that can take a picture. And third, that there is a structure like Google Maps where anybody can put something up and it becomes accessible to anybody in the world. That's an enormous change from 10 years ago. And so what I think you ought to realize, the fact that you're in school and you're doing what you might be calling exercises, you can be doing significant things that have real, even national impact. And you can be doing that now. And that's just amazing. And that's one of the things that when I think about it, I get amazed. The idea that young people can really do stuff that 10 years ago we would be thinking of it's only large companies that are doing it. So that's the kind of thing that really turns me on. And I hope everybody realizes the potential there.
No, yeah, thank you, Dr. Abelson, for highlighting the potential and like how even like high school student like me, like you said, those 6 girls were able to do something that impacted their country. So, Dr. Abelson, I know you are extremely passionate about your App Inventor platform. In fact, you have over 1 million users a month. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and what do you hope to achieve with it?
Well, sure. I mean, it's a little bit like I was just saying. One thing I'd like to achieve is to have many, many, many young people understand that they have the potential to do wonderful things with information technology. So App Inventor is designed so that even primary school students can do things. And then of course, when you get to high school, the boundaries of what high school students can do these days are just unlimited. And that's really what App Inventor is about. We call this, our buzzword for this is computational action. Computational action means it's not just I'm learning about computers and stuff. It's that I'm able to do things that have an impact on me and my family and my community and even my country. So when I think about App Inventor, I think about it really is opening people to this computational action. And it's just really, I think, going to change the way that young people feel empowered in this world of information technology. That's really, really the vision. And what's really nice is that young people can do this. And so when we do App Inventor, we're super proud that there's so many people using it, but we're even more proud when people do things that are meaningful to them. I'll give you another example. This was a winner in we have a thing called an appathon, that making apps that do things. So this is again, I think with a high school boy, he had a lot of food allergies, a lot of serious food allergies. And what he did is he wrote an app where you go to the grocery store and you take a picture of the box that some food comes in. That goes into a database. And that database has the ingredients of the things, of the food that are in that box, and a table about what kind of allergies those prompt. And then again, the same thing, he put that on a national database. So that now anybody who wants to go shopping can go and say, I'm buying this food, I have this allergy, is this dangerous for me? And he made a thing that helps you plan menus and filter them. Right, so that's just a wonderful example. He was thinking mostly about him, but he did something that really was accessible to anybody. And that's not what you'd expect a company to do. Because one of the things that's really nice when you empower young people to do things, they come up with better ideas. You know, there are all these companies that are doing kind of the same thing. But when you can look through the eyes of a young person, or even a primary school student, your realization gets opened in different ways. I'll give you another example. This comes from Hong Kong. This actually is a primary school in Hong Kong. So there's a lot of concern in Hong Kong about old people. There's a large elderly community, and there's this idea, can we do something to help old people? So this is a project that was done by, I think, a 5th grade, a primary school in Hong Kong. And they made an app to help, it's kind of to help old people. And it does kind of the things you expect. You can push a button, it shows you where your location is. You can push another button, it sends a help thing. Push another button, it shows you some exercises to improve your mental state. You push another button, it gives you directions. So that's the kind of thing you would expect. But the cool thing is when you as an older person get the directions, you hear them spoken in the voices of people in your family.
Oh, that's cool.
And I looked at that and I said, I would never in a million years have thought of doing that. But if you think about being a fifth grade kid, it's sort of a much more natural thing to think about. So my view is, in this whole world of people making apps and programs and all of this stuff, there simply is not enough that comes being seen through the eyes of young people. And so I expect as we make the ability to do that more and more, we're going to see more and more just really wonderful things, and not wonderful things like you hear about these startup companies. I mean, wonderful things that really reflect the imagination of kids. So that's a little bit what App Inventor is trying to do.
No, thank you. That is such an inspiring message. And it's really cool that even like a fifth grader was able to create something using your platform. And if anyone is interested in checking out, we'll have a link down below. So please feel free to check
Oh
it
yeah,
out.
sure. App Inventor is totally free. Anyone can get on. And we're hoping that we keep it totally free and lots more people use it.
Yes, so viewers, be sure to check it out. It's totally free. So Dr. Abelson, you have accomplished so much in your life. What do you think is next for you?
What's next for me? I think next is really, it's a little bit the same. The reason I'm having a hard predicting is because the area that I'm working in is moving so fast. I mean, just so incredibly fast that there are things that are wonderful to do that didn't exist a month ago. People ask, what are you going to be doing in 5 years? What are you going to be doing next year? And I say, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing in 3 months. One of the things that maybe you and your listeners have probably noticed, that there's this new system called DALL-E. I don't know if anybody know about it, where you can speak or type in some phrase like a picture of a hockey team made up of beavers, right? Anything you can imagine, and then it draws it.
Oh, wow.
And anybody who hasn't played with that, you really should. It's something that just came into existence in the last year and just got put up for free. But think of that now. Now you can create art simply by speaking at the computer. And what that means is, it makes very well-crafted stuff. And now anybody, even those who didn't think about themselves as artists, can make wonderful original things. And that's just one example. And I mention it because it's kind of come online for people in the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about what is the potential in a year,
Mm-hmm.
it is just mind-boggling. So I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go play with that because it's fun to play with, and maybe get some students involved in that thing too. So that's not a promise or anything, because the nice thing for me is I don't know. All I know is that there are tremendous opportunities, but I want everybody else to realize that you have those opportunities too. It's really having the creativity and imagination to say, I could do something like that.
No, that is really great advice, Dr. Abelson. And I get what you're saying on this technology increasing so fast. I think about like when my parents were first born to when I was born, and so much has changed since then in just technology. And even like you said, within like 2 months, this new platform came to be. And I definitely agree with you on trying out these new things, because that seems really cool. So unfortunately, our time today is coming to an end, Professor Abelson. So is there something else, one final piece of advice you'd like to share with our audience as they explore STEM and careers in STEM?
Yeah, I want to give one thing that I always say to people you guys' age. People are telling you that you want to study computing because of a career you're going to have, or sometime in the future, or you might go to college or something like that. And that's all fine. But I want you all to realize that you can be doing things now. It's what I said before about the power of the computing in the mobile phone you carry. The power of the computing in that you can hook to something on the web, like that, like that boy who put up this database of allergens and labels and things. You can do it, and the point is, you can do it now. So many people who say, I'm studying computing because there's something when I go to college or when I want to think about a career and do stuff. Tell yourself you can be doing that now. And again, tell yourself, when I think about what career I want, there's a real opportunity that I'm going to end up doing something that doesn't exist yet. So have that kind of openness. And that's the advice I want to give to everybody listening to this.
I think that's really great advice, Dr. Abelson. And I think it's really good advice to think about like careers that might not exist, because I know a lot of people have many interests, and who knows, in the future there'll be a job in the future that combines everything that they like, and they might be the ones who are like pioneers in that industry that they created.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to thank you so much for spending time with us today, Dr. Hal Abelson. It was truly an honor speaking with you today, and thank you so much for spending time with us.
Okay. So it's great to talk to you, and I hope everybody enjoys this. So have a great day. See you.
Thank you, Dr. Abelson, and I'm sure our viewers were pleased to watch you. And also to our viewers, please join us again for another exciting episode and another remarkable STEM professional. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our network. You've been listening to Profiles in STEM. Thank you so much. Katie Colbert signing off.
Okay, bye.